Hello and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. We're here to give instant match reaction to Liverpool 0, Leeds United 0. Leeds United's first away clean sheet of the season, another invaluable point on the board, which renders West Ham's point against Brighton null and void because we've got that 7-point gap. We're going to get into it all. Get your comments in, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'm Stephen Brown. With me to discuss everything is Jason Booker. Jason, I mean, I've got to admit, on our show, I predicted a loss for Leeds, and I was kind of building myself up today I just didn't feel it. I just felt like we were basically in a situation where we had a couple of suspensions hanging over us, and does that impact how players play? You know, we've got a massive game in a few days against Man United. I felt like almost like this game was kind of, I don't know, I wouldn't have been surprised, you know, if we'd have lost 2 or 3-0, and I'd kind of resigned myself to it. I thought, right, I'm not going to get too emotional about it. I'm not going to get too upset about it because the big one is on Sunday. And look, if we've rested players to go at that, great. Instead, what we get, Jay, is a performance of great guts, determination, players coming in that haven't had many minutes who've really put in a shift tonight. Could have almost nicked it as well in the last kind of 15 minutes or so. But for me, just proud of the boys, proud of the performance, and it's invaluable, absolutely invaluable. But how are you feeling just a few minutes on from full time?
Yeah, there's so much to love about it. Happy New Year to everybody as well, by the way. It's it don't feel like it's New Year's Day for some reason. No. Mate, yeah, I mean, in the run-up to the game, I think we both predicted defeats. I predicted a 2-1 defeat. You know, that's now 6 unbeaten for Leeds, which feels almost unbelievable for a team in and around where we've been in the division all season, where we expected to be. We go to Anfield, they've won 3 in a row since drawing against us. That's how close the 2 games came apart. And yet again, they find us a stiff opposition to overcome. And today was a very different game to the 3-3, equally as absorbing. I think certainly for Liverpool and Leeds fans, certainly for Leeds fans, I reckon that game was really entertaining to watch because it felt at any time like we could score. Even though we weren't creating loads going the other way, it felt like we were always in with an opportunity to get a chance, even away at Anfield. But the defensive resilience that we showed, the defensive performance that we showed today was honestly exceptional. And when we see the teams come out, I mean, for me, I said to you, looks like we've put us eggs in the Manchester United basket on Sunday. At home, at Ellen Road, against them, an opposition in which we would probably have more of an opportunity to pick up points. We've rested the players that we needed to rest, albeit maybe 1 or 2 more could have come out, but you can't replace too many. We take risks with the likes of Bornau, obviously massive risk really going in for his starting debut in that game. We'll come to him because he was brilliant. Ilya Gruev in a game like that, I think, is a massive risk. Mecha coming back from his injury straight into the starting lineup, I think, is a massive risk. James Justin coming into the side for one of his first starts for the club. I can't remember if it is his first start or not, but it's been limited. That's a massive risk. And they were exceptional. I mean, the defensive performance, honestly, you can hang it in the Louvre kind of one, right? Like, it is one of them, like the organisation that it takes to be able to do that. You have a look at the marshalling that the defensive line and Ampadu especially are doing between them when they're out of possession. We said this before, but we limit opposition to very, very few chances. We've got to Anfield today and we've limited them to next to nothing. They've had 1 or 2. They're going to have 1 or 2. But even then moments were more of a zone making than it was of theirs. So, you know, I'm so proud of that performance today. And you're absolutely spot on. You started the show by saying, you know, it nullifies the point that West Ham got at home at Brighton. If you're liking game weeks, a point for West Ham at home at Brighton is nowhere near as good as a point away at Liverpool. So this is a huge, huge statement, I think. And 6 unbeaten. We go into Sunday still with this unbeaten record, still with this form. I'm giddy. Like, I need like, I feel like it's Christmas this Sunday. I just don't. Anyway, we'll come to that. But yeah, mate, I'm absolutely buzzing with the result today. Absolutely buzzing with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for your comments, Gav. MOT guys, indeed. Gruev to replace Ampadu with Tanaka coming in. Yeah, we will discuss that a little bit later. Our team costs less than Verts. Yeah, he had a bit of a shocker, didn't he, today? Johnny, what a result. Best we've defended all year. Happy New Year indeed. Yeah, I mean, it's just remarkable. I mean, you look at this one again, the 6 games, and to turn up now at Anfield, because I've got to admit, Liverpool at Anfield, it's one of those grounds. It's the team. It's Liverpool as an institution. They're a massive football club, and it feels like it can easily get away from you at Anfield. Like we've been there a couple of times. Last time we were in the Premier League, we'd been absolutely hammered. We were joking about the stream we did when we got humped there a couple of years back. And my fear is, could something like that happen again? But instead, it's kind of the opposite. We're resolute. We showed everything we never showed in the Premier League last time we were here. And it's just great to see. Starting with the team, then obviously this was what kind of caused eyebrows. We talked about, would he make changes? Would he not? Did he have one eye on Sunday? I don't think even the most kind of optimistic person in terms of how many changes he would make would have seen that today, though. Sebastian Bornau coming into the team, fitting in for that Joe Rodon role. James Justin coming in for Bogle. Gruev coming in, like you mentioned, Nemecha back up top. So you've got new players coming in. At that point, are you just thinking, well, let's see what these boys can do? And boy, did they deliver.
Well, like I said, it did feel, when you saw the starting lineup, it felt like a bit of a free pass. But, and I am a bit smug with this, and I am a bit of a patronising wanker. Like, I can't lie. That is one of my negatives, but I'm going to say, like, those that were so critical of Daniel Farke early on this season, they must be a little bit embarrassed now, because we're seeing such tactically astute setups. Tactics are way more than the formation that you ask the players to play in and the players that the manager picks to carry out the roles. It's way more than that. And when you watch that defensive performance today, I mean, it is exceptional, because the gap between Liverpool and Leeds United in terms of the player quality is so vast that you need a structure and a style and a tactic to be able to do what we did today. And we didn't just play with a low block with no intention to try and score.
No.
There were times, especially early on in the first 10-15 minutes, we were actually dominating the ball. We were knocking it around quite nicely. We still saw the Daniel Farke imprint. He still wants the team to play in the right way, in a way that can be entertaining and score goals. But we've got we've always been under Daniel Farke extremely good out of possession. And the way that we look in the Premier League version of that is even better. Like I say, you just need to take a time. And yeah, it don't look the same as a Marcelo Bielsa ball. It's not as sexy as that. But I'm telling you, a Marcelo Bielsa ball would never have been able to get a 0-0 draw away from home with that kind of team. It wouldn't. Yeah. So, mate, it's exceptional. You're right. Like, you see these players come in, Bornau, Justin, Gruev, and the whether they are technically good enough or not is actually irrelevant when they're putting the bodies on the line in the way that they are, and they're sticking to a game plan in the way that they are. That bridges that gap. I'm sick of hearing myself say that. But I say it a lot because it is the only thing that I can say to kind of explain what we're seeing week on week. And, these 6-game run that we've seen some of the best Premier League performances overall that we've seen in a long time. Certainly the best Premier League performances that we've seen in front of fans.
Yeah.
So,
Agree completely. Let's have a look. Skip, I wanted to bring up your comment. Really important point. Really good battling team performance. Thought Justin and Gruev kept Wirtz quiet indeed. And, when you mentioned about that technical level, because that's what I felt, you could really kind of see it in that game. I mean, they've had hundreds of millions of pounds spent on that squad. They've got, European Cup champions in that team, Premier League winners. They've spent over hundreds of millions in the summer, and that opening bit, like you say, we were dominating position, got into a couple of nice set piece positions as well, and then you could see their technical quality. I mean, I don't think Wirtz had a good game, but he's still able to jink away. He's still able to pass it round the corner, and Curtis Jones, technically very good. I mean, Ekitike is a nuisance. I mean, he's a really good player. So, they've got so many technicians that eventually it just kind of, they end up kind of dominating the ball. But like you say, we just it wasn't just like you say, right, we're just going to sit back and we're just going to, that's it.
Yeah.
You know, it was right. Okay, we're going to look for our moments. We're going to look for our opportunities. I actually think with a bit more quality, with a bit more composure in the final third, we could have had we could have had a little something today. Now that you can argue is just the standard of player and mentally, you know, on that kind of big stage, can they deliver it? I do feel we had some really good opportunities on the break where just that little bit more composure, we could have got, you know, a shot away or done even more. It was just sometimes that pass was just off, you know, it wasn't quite right. But, you know, it's difficult when you've not seen much of the ball and then you've got to kind of spring into attack. And I'm not saying that as a criticism, I'm just saying that's the levels, you know. And I think the fact that it was still a threat was really positive.
100%. And not only that, Brownie, I mean, we're half a yard, less than half a yard away from winning the game.
Yeah.
Probably he's a half a leg offside. You know, and there were other moments as well. There's a really, and it'll be missed by a lot, but there's a header that Yacobiol has in the first half that lands basically on the 6-yard line, and nobody's following it up, and he's going ballistic because he wins the first contact, and nobody's kind of there to stab it in.
Yeah,
you know, the game was really, in terms of attacking chances, was about half moments. They have the Ekatike one, which he heads backwards somehow and hits Perry on the head and goes the other way. Apart from that, they didn't have any glaring, like, obvious chances. Their chances were just as half as ours, really. Anton Stack has 2 swipes at one later on, hits the first one quite well on target, gets blocked, hits the second one, slices it. That was the kind of chances that were in this game. So I don't think either team really deserved to score. They had more of the possession and were creating more of the running, as you would expect at Anfield, and with a team the level of theirs. But apart from that, like, that was it.
I just thought they looked completely out of ideas. At the end, I mean, they just had no spark to them at all.
Yeah, they did.
It seemed like Ekatike was the only one, if anyone was going to do it, that was going to open that door. I mean, just a quick comment on Wirtz, Jay. I mean, you know, you talk about someone who's, you know, it's 120 odd million or something, and we just shut the door on him. You know, like someone commented earlier, you know, James Justin Gruet, you know, just superb jobs. You know, you're talking about, I mean, how much did James Justin cost? You know, how much did Ilya Gruev cost? You know, Sebastian Bornau, you know, you're talking, each of those players cost less than 10 million and they're doing a job on a player like that. It's tremendous.
It just shows you, doesn't it? It doesn't mean everything. You know, we can go back over this recruitment conversation until we're blue in the face. But the facts are, is if the player isn't right for the league or the style of play in which you're wishing to play, it's going to look a little bit clunky, and it'll take time for Wirtz. Like, the standard's completely different. I mean, the Bundesliga is still a top league, but it's not. It is nowhere near the standard of the Premier League, you know, outside of Bayern Munich and Leverkusen, really, and Dortmund maybe. But even then thereafter, like, the standard is like our Championship. And every week in the Premier League, you're coming up against opposition like Leeds that are going to make it extremely difficult for you to play. You know, they're able to do that consistently over a 90-minute period. And that's why. And Liverpool are in a bit of a position as well, aren't they? You know, if it were Liverpool of last season, Wirtz had probably slotted in a lot easier, to been able to kind of grow into the side better, that his team were playing better. Their biggest problems is defensively. I know we made them look poor going forward today, but defensively, they're so fragile. They always look like they can be got at. And Van Dijk and Konate, I mean, for me, if I were in the Liverpool recruitment sphere, I'd be saying, look, we need desperate replacements for them. They need to be kind of started to be farmed out. I know they've been excellent. Van Dijk's one of the best Premier League centre-backs we've ever seen. He's in that conversation for sure. But right now, I think they're miles off it defensively.
Yeah, they seem very vulnerable when you watch them. Tom, thanks for your comment. We frustrated Liverpool and Slot with our time wasting on throw-ins and goal kicks. I have no problem with that at all. Martin, I was literally shaking for the last 20 minutes. DCL goal will be onside next year when Wenger's rule comes in. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
That'll be an interesting one to talk about if and when it comes, because I don't think it's as attractive as people think it is. But we'll get confirmed. We'll talk about it. But on the tactics thing, you know, far too often we've had that go against us. And I've screamed blue murder about referees allowing teams to get away with what we were doing in part today.
Yeah.
but understood that it's a part of the game and it's up to the referee to officiate it. It's up to the referee to officiate what we did today. If people start getting yellow cards for it, I say fair play. That's fine. Yeah, you shouldn't be able to waste time. But while the referee allows you to get away with stuff like that, I think it's fair enough. What I don't agree with is things that are outside of the rules. If it can't be officiated, then the bigger side of the FA needs to do something about it. And when I've been kicking and screaming about like the I know Chris has had his things to say about it happens all over the place. Keepers going down and buying a drinks break, so it's a tactics break and stuff. Like, I don't like stuff like that because I think it becomes the officials becoming able to officiate it, and something needs to be done to create a rule around that. But I think what we did today was very smart. We got the crowd out of the game. We did it really, really well.
Drop, couldn't you? I mean, God, that was quiet. It was so quiet. You could hear like individual shouts from people. I was like, Jesus, where's this world famous Liverpool atmosphere? What is going on? Let's talk about some players then. Let's talk about some individual performances because we've got a lot to get through on that front. A lot of praise to dish out. Let's start with some of the lesser seen boys from the season. I've just seen that James Justin has got player of the match. I don't know if that's like a Leeds in-house or not, if that's Sky Sports or not, but James Justin got player of the match. Totally justified for me. He was absolutely superb. And like you say, I think it might be his first start this season, and to come in at Anfield and perform like that and shut the door defensively. But also there's that really lovely moment in the first half, Jay, where he kind of brings the ball out of defence and he had that composure on the ball and then laid off a really smart pass. And I was just like, you are good at football, mate. You are good. And it's kind of reassuring as well because obviously Bogle is the first choice right back, wing back, whichever we're going with. But it's lovely to know that we've got some of that quality waiting in the wings if he can turn up and do that. But what did you make of JJ tonight?
I thought it was brilliant. I thought they both won. I know you're going to nail them individually, but him and Bornau on that right side of defence, I thought were excellent. Everything that we've seen of James Justin really has been pretty positive. Bornau, I think, has had a couple of hairy moments. Certainly the Sheffield Wednesday game is what everybody harks back to, but Justin's always looked pretty dependable. Is probably the right word to put on it. And he had a real job on his hands coming into that game today, and it was brilliant. It was absolutely excellent. Reads the game really well, strong, decent in the air. I know I said it was like 5'5". I think it's because he's like wider. I know he's 6 foot now, but he's like built. I don't know what it is. Like it's just about the way that he carries himself that makes him look tiny. But his pass distribution was good. His decision making was really good. Held up his opponents really, really well. Always was showing them the right way. Never made daft decisions. If anything, he looked more defensively kind of astute than Bogle, but he doesn't offer us anything near what Bogle does going the other way. So yeah, he really impressed me, did James Justin. And if he got man of the match, I think fair enough. I think for me I thought Biol was unreal today. He was in front of everything. His decisions, his heading, his commanding. I mean, even when Perry kind of looked like he was going to make a balls up, and I know we'll come to him as well, he was the one that was reacting. He was just brilliant. I thought Biol today. I thought it was absolutely sensational. But yeah, Justin, mate, what more can he say? Like he's kept anybody that was down that side quiet, and it was a combination of Ekatike, Cody Gakpo, Verts floated into there.
Because he had then become the third centre back, didn't he? It's like, right, okay, I've got to switch inside.
If Bornau doesn't make Sunday, because he obviously comes off injured, I think it's more precautionary. I reckon they've probably said, look, anything with you said, you're not being risked. If you feel any sort of pain, discomfort, because it was very quick, wasn't it? It was knock off. So I think if he's not available for Sunday, I imagine James Justin will probably go in at right centre back and Bogle will come back in on at right back.
Yeah.
And you'd have to say, fair enough. You'd have to say that you'd be comfortable with it, wouldn't you? So it'll be really interesting. I know we'll get into that as well, but it'll be really interesting to see what the team's going to look like on Sunday.
Yeah, 100%. Let's expand a little bit on Bornau then. And he's someone who I think kind of a bit of a weird kind of typical kind of social media thing where it was like I saw him like getting slated, and it's Like, we've not even seen him play apart from, like you say, that Sheffield Wednesday game. And Farke is really good, I think, at kind of making the group feel inclusive. And I think that helps him why you get these performances from players that aren't playing much. And it was kind of written off, I think. It was, I've even heard people say, oh, well, we might get rid of him in January and all this kind of thing. For me, he's come in and done a superb job. He didn't look out of place for me. I thought he slotted in there perfect. Yeah, he's not Joe Rodon, but I thought, he's a physical guy, comfortable on the ball, positionally aware, didn't give anything away stupidly, no leaks. For me, I thought it was absolutely top quality, and I'm happy as part of our squad. The concern obviously is, like you say, it might just be precautionary, hopefully it is. But if it is something a little bit worse than that, obviously he's got that vulnerability there. But for me, having someone, I like the idea of when you're in the Premier League, you've got a player like that who isn't going to get in the first team, but can come in and do a job to a high level. I think you need that. That's what we absolutely, by the way, the last time we were in the Premier League, we had nothing like that. Wow. We had nothing like that.
Well, you were relying on Charlie Cresswell. And I know people will now say, oh, well, Charlie Cresswell's developed on and he's doing well in Liga. And but he weren't good enough. And he weren't good enough back then. He weren't. So you're right, you're spot on. I'll be honest with you, Brown. I think you're not inadvertently not giving him enough credit. I thought it was excellent tonight. Yeah, I thought it was absolutely excellent. I mean, considering the fact of how little game time he's had, I don't think we looked like we missed Joe Rodon at all defensively. And Joe Rodon's been my player of the season so far. I think he's literally been our best player. But we didn't miss him at all defensively. Yeah. The one point where I felt a bit uncomfortable with Bonner was when he was in possession. He didn't look as comfortable distributing the ball. He didn't look as comfortable shielding players off and keeping possession of the ball, which Joe Rodon's so good at doing. And he's been really good at doing this season. So that was the only, and I'm not even going to say it was a criticism. It's just a negative of maybe where he's at with his game time at the minute. Defensively, I thought he was absolutely sensational. Read the game perfectly, was constantly in the right places, was really good in the air, looked strong and physical presence, didn't give away anything, he didn't give them a sniff. So, and bear in mind, him and Justin had never played together. I mean, both of them were completely, fresh really to the starting lineup. And you would not have told at all. I mean, when they seen the team come out, I bet their players in the changing room were like, right, we're going to get at that right side of Leeds United, our left. And they got nothing, Browney, out of it. So, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. Again, recruitment has been battered, and it's fair that it's been criticised to a point. But we're now seeing we're seeing the reason why the club thought some of these signings made sense. Aren't we? And that squad today that we have put together has been able to produce a point away at Anfield with some of his best players missing.
I mean, that just really sums it up nicely. Jacobi Jolland, let's wax lyrical about this guy. Since he's come into the team, first of all, that kind of Man City half-time, I mean, he's just been imperious. And I agree with everything you said about him a few minutes ago. I just thought the way he's just so clever and on the ball as well. Those lovely little floated passes. There was one where, because it seemed like a bit of an outlet, bit that ball was on. There was one, and if it had just been a little bit short, it would have been in. But he's just makes smart decisions, Jade. I suppose the only thing is that ball that Ekitike, when it comes over and he's wrestling with Ekitike. And it was a little bit reminiscent of the Chelsea penalty giveaway where it's caught over him and, he's scrambling back. Apart from that, I thought it was absolutely supreme. And I think whether we're playing with a 2 or a 3, for me, Yaka has to be in there. I really think he's just such a high level, high ceiling. We're seeing why he was so kind of coveted, not just by us, by Newcastle, a couple of other teams as well.
Yeah, I mean, I liked him before he came, and his pace was a bit of a concern. But I think when you're highlighting that moment on Ekitike, I mean, Ekitike arguably is one of the best strikers in the world right now.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just have to say, you know what, they're gonna get the better of your players, and I think that just has to be okay sometimes. But you're right to bring it up. But you also have to then sometimes just give credit to the opponents as well, because if it were the other way and Dominic Calvert-Lewin had done what Ekitike did, we wouldn't focus on what the centre-back didn't do. We'd focus on what Calvert-Lewin did. So I think sometimes you have to do that as well for the opposition. But today I just thought it was an absolute brick wall. And you're right, since he's come into the side in this back three, I mean, without a doubt, he's probably the best of the three in a back three. Now, whether he's the best of the three in a back two is a different question, and we'll no doubt at some point find that out. We have seen him at right centre back just at the weekend, when Rodon comes off, and he looked very, very good. I think he looked uncomfortable when he first came in the team because, one, we weren't in great form and we weren't playing well. Two, it was playing on the left side of the two, and I think he looked really uncomfortable with that because he likes to do quite a bit of ball carrying, but when he's then expected to distribute it on his weaker side, he's not as comfortable doing that. It makes a lot of sense. But I think the biggest part is that we were just out of form at the time. We weren't in a good place, and now we are. But in a back three, he's just sensational, mate. He reads everything so well as that centre back. And he's brilliant in the air. We have three really good centre-backs in the air. Pascal's very good in the air as well. But Biol's just different gravy in the air. I really like him. Really, really like him.
Yeah, me too. Tom here, Bijol, not the quickest, but he has a good footballing brain, very intelligent. I just want to leave this on Skip because this can be a point. I don't know if you feel the same, but it seems like fans still don't rate Perry and they're just waiting for him to make a big error to slate him. Personally, I think he's playing better lately. Yeah, I think with Perry, I've said all along, I think you've got to give, keeper in a new team in the best league in the world a lot of rope. I think we've seen how he's improved, how he's an upgrade on what we've had previously. There were a couple of moments in the game today that frustrated me, and I think you hit the nail on the head when you talked about his positional sense. The bit where the ball comes over, and I mean, it was clear, to every man and his dog that Biol's miles ahead of the centre forward, and all he's got to do is head it back to his keeper. Perry runs out to the edge of the box, so Bijol, sharp as a flash, knows if he heads it back, it's going to be one of them situations where the keeper handles it outside the box or he clatters the striker, and so Bijol managed to hook it away. Brilliant from Bijol and bailed Perry out. And there was a moment before, I don't know if it was first or second half, where a ball kind of gets whipped in, it's kind of bouncing about a bit, and I was kind of screaming at Perry to just come and get it, just move forward and grab the ball, and just. So yeah, that's where I am with Perry. I think he has some fantastic attributes. I think he's contributed massively to this upturn in form, etc., etc. But yeah, a couple of things that I was kind of a bit concerned with that I saw. But look, he'll get there, I'm sure.
There were one in the first half as well, and it ended up being probably one of their biggest chances of the game, where he just spills a ball for no good reason. I think Frimpong hit a shot, and it kind of should have just been a simple gather, and then he spilt it, and then it went right out into the 6-yard box. I agree with Skip nearly all the time, and I always kind of go on this side of the conversation with regards to the way that fans online especially react to things.
Yeah.
I, however, have got concerns that are growing week on week with Perry. And listen, the goalkeeper position is without a doubt the most difficult position for anybody to play on the pitch. And you won't convince me of anything otherwise. I've never been a goalkeeper, but my son is. I know what it's like. And the fact is whenever you make a mistake as a goalkeeper, it usually leads to a goal. It's unforgiving. So it is a really difficult position. He's in a new country. He's got to, establish himself. I get all that. And I'm fully behind him. However, there is some really glaring issues with Perry that he you see, I've got no problem with his distribution. People were going mental about his distribution a couple of weeks ago. I watch his kicks and I think, most of the time they're fairly semi-accurate. He's under a lot of pressure a lot of the time when he's kicking them. Quite often, especially Pascal, he puts it onto his left foot a lot, so he's having to shank it. And I've got no problem with his distribution, but what you're just mentioning there, his game awareness, his situational awareness is a real problem at times. That was simple. That situation, that whole situation was really, really simple. He takes 5 yards distance back, just gets on the back foot. Beale heads that back and he gathers it up. It's literally a nothing. But because he rushes out, it creates a problem for Beale that didn't need it to be there. And we've seen other versions of this happening. He's too indecisive coming off his line. Wiping out the Crystal Palace player the other week, I think it was Uche, that was exactly the same kind of thing. And the ball was over the top of Beale, but if he'd have either committed fully to it to start with, he'd have got it, or if he'd have stayed back on his goal line, he probably saves it. Yeah. So he's them kind of moments that he needs to improve on. But look, we've got to get behind him. He's a project, is Perry. He's absolutely a project.
Yeah, and Farker said as much, hasn't he? You're not getting perfect polished diamonds, are you, at Leeds United when you've just come up. Some comments I want to get through, and they will trigger a little discussion later on. Michael, West Ham signing a Portuguese forward and exploring a move for Sterling. Crystal Palace signing Brendan Johnson for 35 million. Bournemouth with the money from the Semenyo sale will buy. Yeah, we'll kind of cover a little bit of that stuff a little bit later on. 78, thanks for your comment, mate. Farker, Brendan and JJ showed today why they and Leeds United deserve to be in the Premier League. MOT, exactly. Dav, clean sheet at Liverpool. Who'd have thought? Yeah, absolutely. And George here, Leeds got their overdue clean sheet today. The frustrating thing is that Leeds find a way to lose their clean sheet. Not today, though. Yeah, some more kind of performances and players that were out there as well. Ilya Gruev, Jay, full disclosure, I did put in the group. It seems a bit harsh on Ilya, but every time he's kind of named in the team, I feel like, I'm like, that's going to be a vulnerability. And then a lot of the times he does kind of prove me wrong. I thought today he was decent. Now with Gruev, you're always going to have the physical disparity, the physical disparity between him and, bigger Premier League players. But there was a moment towards the end, Jay, and it was just football intelligence. Like he took it down and took it round the defender. And I was like, that's such class. That is such class. Like, I just don't get it. So, yeah, it's phenomenal to see. And look, fair play. I mean, it's a big decision. I probably would have gone with Tanaka for Gruev. But, so be it. And fair play. I thought it was decent again, Gruev.
I said to you during the game that I'm pretty sure that I look more technically capable on the ball than Ilya Gruev. Yeah. But his mental kind of attributes are just unreal. He's got the game awareness and the intelligence of an Andre Pirlo, but with the technical ability of a non-league footballer. That's what, like, even there were a moment over on the left-hand side of the pitch where he kind of like shanked a pass. Then it came back to him again and he shanked a volley, like a half volley down the line. And it's like, come on, Ilya, like you're a professional footballer. Like you should be able to make that pass. But then you're right. Like everything else that he does as his presence is just sensational. He's really, really, really clever. Really, really clever. He reads the game. He reads the game as well as anybody on that pitch today. It's just he doesn't have the pace to get around the pitch into them positions that he needs to get to. That's why he's not that next level of player. That's why he's playing for Leeds United. Because honestly, his game reading and his mental abilities are on the pitch are off the charts good. I can totally understand why Daniel Farke likes him. I can totally understand why he has a role to play within this side. And I mean, bear in mind, again, he's barely played this season. Comes in away at Anfield and he was flawless. He's sensational. He's just a funny player. He's a funny player to watch. Like I really enjoy watching him. And we spoke a lot about him in the off season, didn't we? We spoke a lot about him because in the Championship he stands out as just such a good operator. But in the Premier League, his physical attributes were always gonna make him struggle. And we were like, probably we end up letting him go, but he might make part of the squad. We never saw him really starting games, and every time he's come in this season, we've had this conversation, and every time he's looked the part. Yeah. You can't argue it. He's looked the part, and I'd probably say that the 3-5-2 suits him even more because he has more bodies around him, so he has to cover less ground. So
more protection.
Fair play to him.
Mecha coming in again. Back on the pitch, first full start since the hamstring injury. How do you think he got on?
Mecha, I like some of what he does, but you see how much he can't do with the Calvert-Lewin role in this 3-5-2.
Yeah.
There were too many times where the ball was just coming straight back at us from Van Dijk and Konate's header because Mecha was jumping off the ground and he's only getting up a few inches. But Calvert-Lewin's special in the air. Like his technical ability of being able to get himself up off the ground. I mean, it's Ronaldo-esque. He really is that good in the air, is Calvert-Lewin, which is ridiculous to say, but it's true. Like the way that he hangs in the air, his capability of being able to be physically kind of strong, backing up to the defenders is brilliant. So you really miss that when it's not there, especially when Brendan's alongside Mecha, because you're not going to get a lot of physical presence, are you? So yeah, I thought he did fine. I thought he worked hard. I thought he covered the ground really, really well. But I personally really missed Calvert-Lewin anyway.
Yeah. I did think there was a kind of not a marked difference when Calvert-Lewin came on, but he's just so polished, is Calvert-Lewin, the way he operates. I do think Mecha battled really well, although a couple of times he won the ball off the centre-backs. And it's just so vital that we've got someone like that, in the squad. If Calvert-Lewin can't come on. In terms of the subs, Jay, I thought he got the subs bang on today. I thought Okafor really came on and made a difference as well. I think with Okafor, as we've mentioned before, he's got the technical ability, he's got the skill, and he did scare them to death. You could see it down that wing. It was suddenly a real outlet and driving the ball forward and, nearly set up a couple of really good opportunities as well. Obviously, DCL, you know what you're getting in. He just looks sharp, doesn't he? He just looks absolutely sharp. You can 100% see this is a guy who's banging form. The goal, honestly. We've got such a clever little finish, wasn't it? But obviously we saw a little less of Tanaka then. We also got to see a bit of Jadon Bogle as well. But how do you think Farke did with the subs? I thought it was kind of the right time to kind of change that dynamic up top.
Yeah, well, and it did actually have an impact. We started to see a little bit of a threat. We obviously had the ball in the back of the net in the way that we did. Unfortunately, it was just offside. It'll be interesting to see long term, maybe after this weekend, whether the new partnership is Okafor and Calvert-Lewin. It will be interesting to see how kind of Daniel Farke sits with that now. Because for me, I would still go back. I would, but I do recognise the fact that Okafor has done some nice things that Mecha can't do, and he does give us a presence, he gives us a threat, and I think while there's the competition there, it's really good to have that issue. It's really, really good to have that issue, but I thought he nailed it today. It didn't feel like we wanted to change too much when we did. There were some leggy moments from the midfield as the great game grew on, but they're gonna be. Like, there's absolutely going to be, like, if you were to replace Tanaka with Gruev too early, you lose some of that defensive rigidity. You lose the flow of the game. Like, I personally didn't want to see any changes in that area of the pitch too early. You mentioned that Stack were getting tired early on. What do you do? Do you bring him off and lose all of that when, I started a comment a minute ago. I'll probably just bring it up now. I again think that you just want to look and find a problem here, George. And I'm not having a dig. I'm really, really not. We're in the midst of a 6-game unbeaten run. Farke's showing that he's getting things right time and time again. Tanaka's played plenty of game time for his first season in the Premier League. And he's also made plenty of mistakes too, which we've highlighted. Now, that's, again, not then to say that he shouldn't be starting games ever, but the manager today has picked a team that he saw as capable of getting something from that game, and we got something from that game. Not only did we get something from that game, but we were good value for getting something from that game. So let's just give the manager the credit. Like, why should we have started Tanaka when we got a 0-0 draw away at Anfield?
Yeah.
I don't understand this mindset of, like, there's got to be a problem. Like, no. I agree. I think actually, if you compare kind of Gruev and Tanaka in terms of consistency this season in their appearances, I would argue Gruev gives you more consistency. Now, Tanaka has higher points. Obviously, the goal against Chelsea, fantastic against Chelsea, really good against Everton in that opening game. But then we've had moments, the Tottenham switch off, the Bournemouth, one of them, where he switches off and gives the ball away. And it happened, I think, a couple of other games as well. The goal against City,
I was a bit nervous when I'm not going to lie. I put it in the group. I was a bit nervous when Tanaka came on because I thought, please don't do a Tanaka where you end up passing it to them and they go nick it at the end or something. So, but like you say, I think, as Dav says here, good squad management, and that's what it's about. And look, if you've got those players vying for it, that's absolutely fine. But I think Daniel Farke is clearly getting it right at the moment.
I'm seeing similar things on Twitter from fans about Willie Gnonto. Clearly don't like Gnonto because he don't get on the pitch today. Like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, Okafor's in pretty good form at the minute. He's been looking good. He's been starting a lot of games. He's the one to come on in that position later on. Gnonto came on against Sunderland and looked really poor.
Yeah.
But people they get it fixated with certain players that they need to be seen and that they need to play regardless of actually how they're playing. And I think this goes for Tanaka. And I really, really like Tanaka. Tanaka is so much more fun to watch than Gruev. He's technically so good in comparison to Gruev. But in terms of the sum of its parts, the whole kind of application to the team, what the team needs at that point in going into this game wasn't Tanaka. And that was proven out on the pitch. Yeah.
Can I just say on Willie Gnonto as well? For me, Okafor's like levels above.
Oh yeah, levels and levels.
And if you're taking a winger off, playing down that left side, it's Okafor over Gnonto all day. And look, fair play. Gnonto's had, against Liverpool, that impact was really good. Loved it, but it's been few and far between. Let's not pretend. But yeah, I think there's still an idea out there that he should be getting more game time, which is a bit strange. Right, let's have a look at some of your comments from previous. Let's have a look at a couple of things just to make sure we're covering everything here. Michael, bias referee today, decision to give Ampadu a yellow, never a handball. Let's talk about this because honestly, it felt like to me, and I put it in our WhatsApp group, that any decision was always going to automatically go Liverpool's way. If there was any kind of indecision about it or consideration, right, it's Liverpool. The one you mentioned where Stat gets fouled, and then, the making up this, contact there and the ref buys it at the end of the game when it was 6, nearly went to 7 minutes before he blew up. And just little fouls, little moments, throw-ins and stuff. It was like, you're almost up against 12 men. It's frustrating, really, Jay, because you just come to expect it, don't you? You see it in the first 15 minutes, a daft decision goes their way. You just think, oh, here we go again. What is going on?
Yeah, we've had him a few times this season. And I think he's absolutely atrocious. And I think the bias that belongs in the Premier League is so evident. Yeah. It is so evident when you're part of these games. And I do get it, they're human, first off. They're in front of 45, 50,000, 60,000 home fans going away at Anfield. It's tough. I get it. Yeah. They also have a lot more of the ball and a lot more of the attack, which means that their decisions will more often go in their favour. Yeah, and it'll feel like that to an away fan. So I get all of these things, but there's so many glaringly obvious decisions that are just, I'm going to say corrupt, but I don't think it's as far as that. I don't think what I saw today was corruption, but it feels like that. It feels like it's cheating. The double decision on Anton Stack today is just as an example. That was the worst one of the lot for me because he gets fouled first off. He then gets fouled again. The ball then breaks for Liverpool because of the second foul. And the referee decides to take that moment to stop the play and bring it back for a head knock that wasn't a foul. He kind of negated the two fouls because there was a Liverpool head injury. He negated the two Leeds fouls. It was just bizarre. We should have had a free kick right on the edge of the Liverpool box. And because there's a head injury, we didn't get it. That's how it felt. And it was just bizarre. The yellow card to Ampadu, and that didn't really impact today's game so much, but it massively impacts Sunday. And I know we're going to get to talking about it before we finish, who's going to play there and whatnot. But he clearly leans out and it hits him on the shirt line, which is not handball. So the referee's not sure. Now, I've heard contrasting reports that he then books him for kicking the ball away, but he thinks he's within play because he's not handled the ball. Yeah, if you're going to book a player for something like that, you have got to be 100% sure.
Yeah.
100, but he's not. He can't be because it's not on ball. So it's just...
It's like I couldn't wait to give it. Position for Liverpool.
There were back-to-back corners not long after that that both came off Liverpool players. They should have both been goal kicks and he gave corners. I mean, the second one is honestly awful. It goes overboard now, hits Ekatike and goes out. It's hard. It's really, really, really hard to kind of work around. And we've heard small clubs complaining about this for years and years and years and years. You know, small clubs, I'm not putting us in that bracket, but I'm talking about the teams that are towards the bottom of the division. You know, I remember Tony Pulis screaming blue murder about this for Stoke for years with Arsenal, Manchester United, Liverpool. It's existed and will continue to exist until the dawn of time. But it makes it nonetheless frustrating.
So frustrating. Daniel Farker has actually had a little comment on it as well. So one of his post-match comments, he says he has to calm himself down with the point over the caution for Ampadu, which has suspended him from the Man United game. It was never a yellow card. Several situations I'm struggling to accept today. He's our key player. So Farker obviously not happy that Ampadu is
a massive miss.
Suspended based on a situation where you can't be sure that was handball. Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Right, let's have a look here. At some of your other comments as well. Michael, at least Bogle and Goodmanson, 4 yellow cards are now null and void. Pity about Ampadu, who now misses the Man United game. And
you can't appeal a yellow card.
No, you can't. The big team thing is fear, not corruption. They're terrified of getting it wrong and a big team losing out on match of the day.
I actually think that's a great point. I think he's probably spot on. I think he's probably spot on. I think it is probably fear rather than corruption. I wouldn't be surprised, me and Lewis spoke about this in detail, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if in years to come we hear about some level of corruption around Premier League level. I wouldn't be shocked at all. But I do think overall it is this. This kind of expectation that the big it's the same as the Super League and kind of wanting to go down that route, and they monopolise the sport. We spoke quite in detail the other day. I can't remember what it was that triggered the conversation about drama taking over sport rather than the integrity of sport being what sells. And the same applies to this. Like, the referees are a huge part of creating drama, and unfortunately, they are part of it. They're part of a massive problem. I mean, the standard of officiating is so low. It is so low. It's so poor. It's never been worse than it is right now. But yeah, it's a bigger problem than we can probably talk about tonight. So
yeah, indeed. Right, just a few bits and bats. I know there's some Farker comments in. We will get to them. There was a question asked earlier by Tom. We do want to come with it because it leads on nicely from where we're at. What positions would you hopefully strengthen in this window? Well, now, Jay, we've had a good look at some more members of the squad. Is there anywhere in particular that's screaming out to you that you would like to see us do, and how realistic is it going to be?
Well, I was really surprised to see the message from Daniel Farker. I think it was earlier today or yesterday with regards to outgoings, and that nobody in and around the first team squad that's played a significant part will be leaving. He was pretty definitive on that. Now, things can change, and big offers could come in, and we might see somebody go. But that then kind of, for me, rules out the likelihood of Willie Gnonto leaving, Joel Perreault leaving. Elliot Gruever we've seen tonight. These kind of bit part on the fringe players.
Yeah.
And I don't see too much happening in the way of incomings unless some of them leave, because he likes a smaller squad. We're towards the capacity of the registration anyway, so we're going to have to see some leave to then get somebody. But then his comments prior to that were that we won't see any incomings before the Derby game. Yeah. But him saying that basically says that we're going to see some incomings. So it's a tricky one. It's a really, really tricky one, because you're at this fine balance, because the squad's in a great place at the minute, but obviously we're always going to need developments. This squad will always be able to be strengthened, always. the most alarming positions, I personally think, if we only have maybe 2 to go at, I would say striker and centre-back. Because you've got injury concerns in Metcher and Calvert-Lewin, certainly in Metcher. You've got injury concerns in the back line with Bornau, Roden out for a month. Struijk is always injured at some point. We will lose Pascal likely for 10 or so games. If you're going to treat Dominic Calvert-Lewin and Metcher with the injury tag, you have to do the same with Pascal. He's had 10 to 15 games out of the last 3 seasons. So that's fact. So you then have to look at them 2 positions. And obviously in both of them positions as well, not only have you got injury concerns, but you've got the most positions to cover if we're playing 3 back and 2 up front. Yeah. Or depth to position. So you have to then look at them two spots. And we can significantly improve in them areas. You're going to need to improve in all of them, Brownie. It's just whether it's the right time to do it or not. Like, can we improve on Tanaka, Gruev, Brendan Aronson, and a couple of the others that are playing in the centre midfield? Of course we can. But are we going to be able to then facilitate them within this squad right now this season? Probably not, because you're going to end up in a position where you've got 8 midfielders and some of them are not even making the squad. So it's a real tricky one, but I would say centre-back and striker if you were going to press me on it. But I hope there's movement, but I hope it's not loads.
Yeah, I think... it's a real difficult balancing act, isn't it? It really is difficult because we have been bitten before where we've not done anything in January and then, you get a bad injury in February the 1st and it's like, oh, we didn't cover our asses here and now we're going to get stuck. And that's always the fear, isn't it? You get into Feb, like you say, if you've not got another striker, suddenly Calvert-Lewin's out for 2 months or, like you say, Struijk, I think that's a really good point, probably flown under the radar. Actually, he's always has an injured period, every season. I think in terms of that quality jump, it's going to be hard to make those moves and do those things in January, isn't it? Especially, if we can't, get any outgoings. I know Peru is probably... there's a few things seem to be bubbling with him with championship teams. And, maybe if someone like Peru does go, it seems now he's really kind of down the pecking order. I mean, he just doesn't fit this team at all, really.
I'd be stunned if he was still here come the end of January. And I like Joel Peru. I don't like the version of him that we've unfortunately had to see in the Premier League. Yeah. And I don't think he fits in the 2 up front in this mould at all. I think he does suit a 2 up front, just not in the Premier League version of the way that we're playing. I just don't think he suits the system at all. I'd be stunned if he sees the end of January because he's not even getting on the pitch at all now, really. He's bit part 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there. But, you're talking about a serious player. He could go to Southampton, as an example, who are 12th in the Championship, and he could see them finish in the top 6. Because he's that level of importance. He's that good in front of goal. He could really transform a Championship team. But they're going to have to pay 20 million quid for him. And that's going to be a problem for a lot of them as well. So it's going to be really interesting. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens. But I would like to see him moved on. Maybe loan with obligation to buy or something like that. And then go out and sign another 9. I saw somebody comment a young 9. I disagree with that because I think you're looking at a real select pool of potential players as a young 9. Who's going to actually be good enough to actually come in and actually start games for Leeds United? That's a young 9. I think you more need to look down the route of a top player that's out of favour somewhere that can come in and make an instant impact for 6 months, score 5 to 10 goals. That's what I would like to see.
Yeah, Michael's mentioning about the Fulham players we were linked with in the summer, Wilson and Moniz. I think Moniz has been injured and he's been out, hasn't he? And Wilson, he's having an absolute, scorch of a season. So that ship may sail there.
We don't have a chance of getting Harry Wilson now. We don't have a chance of getting Harry Wilson. Harry Wilson's arguably on for being in Premier League team of the season. So far, he's been excellent. So Fulham are not going to let him go to us. Fulham are still in and around a bit of a battle for relegation. They're not going to be completely comfortable yet. So no.
This is an interesting point here from Arthur that he touches on. Farke knows how to get players in, make them look good 3 months later. And there's something to that as well. I mean, if players coming in January, you know, we've seen it with Farker in the Championship before. You know, where, I mean, I think we had Connor Roberts the first year who came in and kind of did a job, but not kind of much more than that. And it's interesting because, you know, I think a lot of people view the January transfer window as this kind of, you know, make or break thing. I don't know if I feel a little bit differently about it now, because I just wonder how much impact you can have, you know, depending on your player profile. Like you say, I mean, West Ham, I mean, you know, I mean, God, have you seen Fabrizio Romano's tweets tonight? He's tweeted out about 3 or 4 times with West Ham deals close by. But, you know, there's a lot of players in there where it's like, you know, the £21 million player from the Portuguese league. And it's like, I don't know if that's you know, it might be exciting. It might be kind of like, oh, because you never know if you've got the next, you know, Brazilian Ronaldo or something. But the likelihood is players need time to adapt. I mean, who comes in hitting the ground running straight away? You know, it's tricky.
I saw somebody mention West Ham of, you know, we need to be buying it. We're quite early on in the stream, so thank you for the comment. But I wouldn't be that enamoured if I were a West Ham fan. Now, look, it might transcend that these 3 signings that they're making are all going to hit the ground running and it'd be a blockbuster and turn the season around. But the likelihood, as Browney says there, is that they'll take a bit of time to get going. They won't acclimatise to the Premier League as quickly as you think, and it'll actually be flops. I think they spent about 60 million in these 3 players. They signed Tati Castellanos from Gil Vicente and Pablo. I mean, I know a little bit about Castellanos just purely from Football Manager. I've never heard of Pablo before. And they signed, there were another one as well that I thought were after.
Yeah, there's another one that they're getting close to as well, isn't there? Oh God, where's that one gone? I can't see it, but it'll be on Fabrizio's page somewhere. Yeah. Oh, Lewis Gilham.
No, Lewis Gilham's gone out. He was at West Ham. He's gone to Sporting.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, of course. Yeah. God, yeah.
That's the other way. But the point is that, like, these are a bit of the wild card signings. You know, they are literally almost panic station kind of stuff. Like, I don't think that this is as exciting as I would want to see if I were in the depth of this being my club. I'd be worried. It reminds me of us signing Jorginho Rutter out of nowhere for massive money and him barely playing and not being ready. That's what it reminds me of. Now, for every Carlos Tevez and Javier Mascherano, when they saved them, there's going to be another 10 to 20 to 30 Jorginho Rutters that are not ready, that won't save the team, that'll put them actually in more danger and more problems. So I'm not even going to concern myself with it.
It's a bad situation, though, as well, isn't it, that you're walking into there? I mean, They have a distinct lack of leaders in that West Ham team. For me, you know, look, I could be completely wrong. It just feels like the wrong type of profile, really. I mentioned it in the group earlier. Yeah. Nathan Ake's turned West Ham down. Now, if Nathan Ake is available and he's turning down West Ham, maybe there's an opportunity for Leeds to go in there, because maybe he don't want to move to London. Maybe he's happy living in Manchester, and he'd fancy the fact that we're looking pretty comfortable, and he'd slot in. I mean, Nathan Ake would be a top signing for Leeds United, and this would seriously elevate us. And, you know, you're talking about being able to play across the whole of the back line. He can play left back. He's left-footed, so if Pascal does get that injury, he would come in. I mean, Nathan Ake arguably would start over Pascal Struijk from day one. So that'd be a top signing. So yeah, this would be a signing that'd concern me. But the ones that have been talked about, until we see something different, and I would always argue with players like these that there's a reason that West Ham are having to desperately sign them in January, and they're not going to one of the bigger teams that are more secure at this stage of the season. Yeah, absolutely. Michael says here, with the amount of money West Ham have spent over the last few years, they're pushing close to PSL. I mean, it's like Jay says, they're in desperation zone now. They'll be absolutely terrified of going down. And it'll be massively interesting. Just having a look if we've got any further Farker comments. Let's have a look here. 78. Peru could go to a European or Championship club and deliver promotions titles. So hopefully bids come in. Love the player, but he's not what we need. No, definitely not. I don't think just the way the Premier League is now physically, I don't see how he fits in really. Let's have a look then. So Farker, he says there's a few players off with cramp. Longstaff is back in training, however, so some late decisions for Sunday. DCL rested on the bench with a quick turnaround. I know how much this game means. Points to the fixture list being unkind in terms of kick-off times. Well, looking ahead to that one, Jay, just before we kind of sum up our thoughts on tonight's game, it's a massive one. Sunday. I don't know if you saw them against Wolves. I was kind of flicking between. Well, I watched the West Ham Brighton game and then caught about the last, I think, 15 minutes or so of the Man United Wolves game. And Man United were absolutely atrocious. I mean, Wolves were knocking it round them. It was just embarrassing. It was absolutely embarrassing. You're looking at it going, okay, if like we don't have 7 injuries and 7 suspensions against Liverpool, this represents an unbelievable chance to get one over them. And it absolutely feels like whether they've got extra 2 days rest or whatever, just looking at where those two teams are. I mean, I don't know how they're so high up in the league, to be honest, but God, they were awful, Jay. They were awful.
They're there to be beaten, mate, and I think it's part of the reason why I'm so excited for it. Because I genuinely think that we can go. I mean, we're favourites. We're actually favourites going into the game. We're favourites with the bookies going into the game.
Wow.
Which must be the first time since, 2002? Something like that, 2001.
Nice.
Even if we were then, I mean, they were better. So, this is a massive, massive opportunity. I mean, above anything else, it's a massive opportunity to get 3 points. That's another thing that we need to not forget. And it'd take us to 7 unbeaten, and it'd be some run, and then we go into Newcastle on Wednesday. You know what I mean? Like, these games are thick and fast right now. And I'd argue again, looking at where we can pick up potential points, Manchester United at home right now is a far better opportunity than Newcastle away. So this is a massive game from a points perspective. It's an even bigger game because of what it matters. And I've been really open with how much it matters to me this week. It really, really does. Like, and I know that will be the case for most of the fan base as well. Like, there'll be some coy that'll be like, oh, I don't really care. No, we care. Like, and we do want to win this game. And the gap has never felt, or for a long time, has never felt as close as it does right now. Absolutely. Now, is it harder without Joe Rodon and Ethan Ampadu? Yes. Yeah. But at any given stage of the season, you're going to probably have players missing from your starting lineup.
Yeah,
Bruno Fernandes might be out of the for them, as an example. They will have issues as well, you know, and it's the Christmas period. Like, there's been a lot of games, there's injuries, there's fatigue, there's bookings, blah, 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 the rest of it. We've lost probably as most important 2. That is the biggest kicker, because them 2 are so important, the linchpins of this side. But hopefully we can just see this through. We've seen tonight that the rotation can come in and make that gap up. That, you know, James Justin as a drop off from Jordan Bogle as an example, we'd have all thought that would have been massive. It wasn't. Born out from Rodon, would have thought that would have been seismic. It wasn't. You know, so hopefully with the returning likes of Jaden Bogle, Dominic Calvert-Lewin coming back in the side, Okafor coming back in the side. Hopefully, we can do the business and get the 3 points there. I'm really, really, really looking forward to it. I can't lie. Again, if I was offered a point, I'd probably take it. If I was trying to remove the emotion of wanting to win this game out of it, because I recognise the fact that there should still be a discrepancy between the 2 teams, and getting a point here wouldn't be the end of the world. It really wouldn't. So, looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I guess the Ampadu-shaped hole, though, I mean, what we're going to do with that? What are we actually going to do with that? Because we don't have another... I mean, like, Gruev physically is nowhere near Ampadu. Stack, not as aggressive, I would say, as Ampadu. You know, how are you going to replicate that tenacity? Because you look at, like, the Chelsea performance, for example. I feel like if we have that kind of attitude about us, I think we beat them. I think we absolutely beat them. But you take Ampadu out of that team. When Ampadu's like that, I think he's even more key than Rodon, because you can replicate, you know, like we've seen with Bornau coming in tonight, he can do the defensive job. But Ampadu, I'm just worried about if you don't have someone who's snapping into those tackles in the middle of the park and really, playing with that fire, what's going to happen there?
He's going to be an absolute seismic miss, mate. He really is. He's so important. He plays well. We tend to play well. He's key. He's key. He's a leader. He's the only out-and-out leader. There is some other leaders in this team, but he is the leader of men. He's he carries the team on his back a lot of the time. He's sensational. He's brilliant. And he's stepped up to Premier League like a duck to water overall. We've had his concerns with his away performances at times, but that goes for the team as well. He's going to be a massive miss. I mean, I saw somebody mention a minute ago about Longstaff coming in there. I don't see that, not with the amount of time out that he's had. No. I think it will be one of either Tanaka or Gruev. I personally, what I think will end up happening, I think he'll end up playing Stack there. He'll play Stack as the 6. He'll play Tanaka as the other midfielder, and Brendan will play as the other 3. I think it'll be them 3. And then I think you'll see Okafor restored with Calvert-Lewin, and it'll be back to the more because it was 5-4-1 today as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It wasn't 3-5-2, it was 5-4-1. Yeah. I didn't think it was going to be that when I saw the lineups. I thought, it'll just be the 3-5-2 and Brendan will play right up alongside. And he was the one that was getting closest to Mecha. But when we were out of possession, it were a 5 and then a 4. Very, very clearly. I think it'll be just back to 3-5-2. I think Justin will come in and play right centre back if Bornau's not fit. If Bornau's fit, I think he'll play, and I think he should. If I'm honest, he's earned it today. But yeah, it's going to be a miss, mate. It's going to be. If I was confident before, I'm less confident now. That's all I can say, because that is such a miss. I'd rather a Jayden Bogle got suspended. I'd rather anybody else got suspended. If I'm honest, other than
I think you're right about how excited we are about this game, because I think definitely what's driving that is the fact that it's never felt closer between the two clubs for a couple of decades. I think that it feels like, God, this is the opportunity to actually get a win here against this lot, like I've not known for years and years and years. It feels like if we can produce one of those special Elland Road atmospheres where it's just like a bear pit and we're on top of them and we're getting at them and the players go out and play aggressively. And I just feel like, we can do it. And look, if we, I mean, this run, by the way, because we're obviously West Ham, they're supposedly are on their easy games. Well, they've already lost one and they've dropped points at home against Brighton. And they've got Wolves, I think, next. Again, I don't think it's going to be straightforward for them at Wolves. I really don't think it's going to be straightforward for them. So if we can beat that lot, then, I mean, Jay, you're talking, what would we go up to, 24 points? I mean, it's massive. I
mean, we've got a toe in next season's Premier League, I would say. It's nowhere near over. It's not, but we've got a toe over the line. That's how it kind of feels at the minute with the 7-point gap and the way that it's gone for West Ham. Just a couple of comments I want to just bring up. I just want to bring this up. Like, I think we've been in this position before, Michael, right? Like we've been in this position before where we've looked down his nose at a point away at Burnley, as an example, and then, in hindsight would have been like, actually, that'd have been a really good point. This is one of these situations. Now, I'm not saying that we will go into this game not wanting to win it. Of course, we will want to win it. But a point on the board here would be still huge. This is still Manchester United. It's not the Manchester United that we all remember. I know that. But it's still Manchester United. It's still a team that's got millions and millions and millions of pounds invested in it, that's got a Premier League established kind of set up and backing that we've not got. It's still got Champions League winners over the pitch. It's still a top set of players. Yeah. And I'm not saying that we go into it wanting a point, but if it was offered, I think you would be foolish to just think, no, we should be winning this game. And personally, I'm not having a dig. And I think, you're also saying West Ham play Wolves on Saturday and it's likely a win. It's not. we in that same breath you're saying about Man United, they go and draw against Wolves at home the other day. Like, it's not a foregone conclusion that West Ham win that game. West Ham are in a real hole at the minute. So personally, I just think you have to take the whole landscape of the game. You really do. Come the end of the season, a point at home to Manchester United would be seen, I think, as a pretty decent point. I want to win the game. I do really want to make that clear.
Ryan says we're a toenail.
Yeah.
And a point a game for the rest of the season, and we'll be in with a shot of staying up. I got to say just one comment on West Ham as well. I mean, Brighton, honestly, Brighton could have scored 4 or 5. I mean, they're just, Brighton's so frustrated. I was like, just make the right decisions and you can absolutely pump these lot. It's ridiculous.
Just to bring this up as well, Xavier, I've seen a couple of your comments. I agree with you that the bottom 3 will probably end up being the bottom 3. I've seen your next comment, but we need to be careful with this.
Yeah,
because we are not so much better than the teams around us. The team, together with Daniel Farke and the system and the way that we're playing at the minute, is really pleasing and loads to be optimistic about. But we are still one of the worst 5 teams in this division this season. We are.
Well, when we beat Nottingham Forest in the relegation season at home under Garcia, we were 13th after that game.
Yeah,
13th, and we still
went down.
Absolutely tanked it. So, yeah, you're right. Should we have a look at the league table? Let's have a look. Let's get that comment out of the way. Let me hide that. Here we go. So you've got Leeds United in 16th there. Forest are suddenly dropping points, dropping games. Fans not happy with Dyche. So a lot of negative comments about Dyche from Forest fans after their loss against Everton the other night. West Ham, I mean, that's just great reading. 7 points, Jay, 7 points. And this was the games, like I mentioned, where if they were going to, bridge that gap, it felt like they could potentially do it during this run of games. But we've just gone away to Anfield and we've dug out a point and we've kept that 7-point lead. Psychologically, Jay, it just feels massive.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I mean, it's funny because them 5 unbeaten on there, it don't look that great without any context. But you have to remember the fact that we've arrested this away form issue. We've gone to Brentford, we've gone to Sunderland, and we've gone to Liverpool and been undefeated in all 3 of them. That's massive. And then the other draw within there was Liverpool again at home.
Yeah.
The 5th of that sequence. So, when you apply context to that and with an unreal 4-1 win at home against Crystal Palace in the middle of that. So, it's top form. And, I mean, if you'd have said to me that we'd be 7 points clear of the bottom 3 come the 1st of January, I'd have bitten your hands off. I'd have absolutely bitten your hand. This is as good as we could have ever wished to have seen the 1st of January as a league table. It really is. And the fact that Forest and West Ham, given managerial changes and all the investment that both of them teams have got, still find themselves in this situation is unreal. I mean, Nottingham Forest have scored 18 goals. Look at the attacking quality that they've got in comparison to us. They've got the second worst amount of goals in the whole division. It's crazy.
Well, it's funny as well because obviously, earlier in the season, obviously rumblings about Farke and everything like that, and people, Nuno and Dyche. But, someone like Dyche, just got a pattern of the other night, Forest are just, all they're doing is hitting crosses and it's just getting headed away. No other ideas, no creativity, no thoughts. And you're like you say, look at the attacking talent you've got and you've not even been able to score a goal. So it's not plain sailing. There's not quick fixes. There's not a magic wand that someone can wave. It feels like at this stage, Jay, the club made the right decision. We've stuck with Farke. We've seen through the kind of rocky seas of earlier this season, and particularly that I think it was a 6 or 7, game without a running game streak without a win, and now we're on the other side of it. It'd just be perfect to get that win on Sunday. Wouldn't that just be like chef's kiss on this run of form at the minute? And then Newcastle away, look, they're a good team. That's going to be really hard at St James's. But if we could just get that win on Sunday, it would really just bookend this run of form.
all Premier League games are hard, mate, aren't they? Like, you don't go into any game thinking that it's easy. But, you know, are we even surprised, me and you, when I say this about the fact that Daniel Farke's getting it together? I'm not. Like, we've seen this in season 1. We started the season pretty averagely. We got it together. We saw it in season 2. We're seeing it in season 3. And, you know, the season as it goes, the performances, the quality is just improving week on week on week. He improves players. We're seeing that week on week on week. And I am so glad that we stuck with him. So glad that we stuck with him. And anybody that was a doubter now has to firmly climb down. Daniel Farke is every bit a Premier League manager. He is. He is. Like, regardless of how this season goes, you've seen enough. Half a season is more than enough to base an opinion on. And, you know, right now we're actually we're not just competing in the way that we were doing in the opening 6 or 7 games. Yeah. We're always looking like a real threat. We're 6 unbeaten. Teams don't go 6 unbeaten in the Premier League very often. And a lot of them have been away. They're four of them games have been away from home as well.
Yeah.
With two home wins involved. So is that right? Or three away. 3 away, 3 away, 3 at home. 3 away, 3 at home, because we're Liverpool draw at home as well. It's top. It's top. If we could, I mean, again, just to finish, we deserve to beat Sunderland and Brentford as well, by the way.
Yeah, we did.
We did.
Yeah, we absolutely did. We absolutely did. Good stuff. Right. Well, me and Jay will sign off. We will be back post Man United at some point to give our thoughts on that. But a brilliant night for Leeds United tonight. I think a result and a performance we can all be proud of, and just enjoy it. We've just got to enjoy it. Life in the Premier League, not all bad, eh? We will be back. If you've not done already, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and get your comments in on what we've said as well. I've been Stephen Brown. With me, joining me as ever, has been Mr. Jason Booker. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, mate.
And we will see you again next time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.